Well, thank you, first of all, Your Majesty, for agreeing to come onto my channel and perhaps consider some questions which have been pre-presented to the palace. So I'm not going to go off script. And just to set the scene for my subscribers and anybody viewing this, and especially those in America perhaps, I'd like to explain that I am a monarchist. I've always been a monarchist. I believe in a parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy. I held the Queen's Commission, held your mother's commission, as did my father hold your grandfather's commission, and so on and so forth, in fact, long before him too. So I'm a monarchist and I'm an advocate of monarchy. So I hope you will accept these questions in the spirit to which they are intended. Now, the first one I have for you, greetings. 10 years ago, when Prince of Wales, who came to address a parliamentary committee I was on, quite a small audience, and it was made absolutely clear to us that there was no question of us being able to interrupt you or ask questions in any way. You came and you gave your opinions, and you went, and that was the end of that. And we were not allowed in any way to suggest that you might be wrong in any of your views. Now, you have been sponsoring for some years now the hypothesis that man-made carbon dioxide will destroy the planet, but thousands of independent scientists say that there is no climate emergency, and indeed only quite recently, 2 recent Nobel Prize winners have confirmed that there is no climate emergency. We have had no open debate on this in this country. It's taken as the science is settled. And you are the lead player in that particular game. The science is settled. Man-made carbon dioxide is a bad thing, and it's going to boil the planet. Would it be unreasonable for you, perhaps, to look at some alternative arguments, given that this has been your case now, by your own words, you've been banging on for 30 years. 30 years, and clearly there's only been a very marginal change in global temperatures so far, in spite of the fact there's been a significant increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide. Do you think it's time, perhaps, Your Majesty, that you should reappraise your position on this hypothesis?
Well, I think you'll agree. I've changed my mind after 30 years. I would look a proper Charlie. So I'm sticking to my guns, and moreover, of course, it really doesn't matter about the science. It's a principle thing, isn't it? The World Economic Forum, of which I'm lead, as you quite rightly say, is the thing. Yes, absolutely no question about me revising this at all. I think the science is settled, and that little Swedish girl, Greta Garbo, no, somebody else, whatever her name is anyway, she agrees with it, and I think she's an authority on this subject.
I think it would be fair to say, Your Majesty, that you are very closely joined, one might almost argue joined at the hip, with Sir David Attenborough. He seems to be your guru. Yet he has been consistently wrong on a number of things. He's been frightening the British population, particularly children, that the demise of the polar bear, for example, is imminent, that they will eventually die out. And yet we now know that the world's experts, professional experts on the numbers of polar bears, for example, has been increasing in recent years. And so he was wrong. He's made no apology for this, but he's quite clearly wrong. He was banging on indeed about the Great Barrier Reef, which was coming to its end because of man-made activity. This has also proved to be wrong. It seems you are both emotionally and psychologically charged with the same dynamic as Sir David Attenborough. would it not be more sensible for you to bring more people into your entourage who take a counter view? You might perhaps consider people like Professor Ian Plimer, the Australian geophysicist, who is an expert in this particular field, who takes a completely counter view, just for the case of some balance. The point I'm making, sir, is that there doesn't seem to be any balance. And it would be unreasonable, I suspect, and certainly I met people who worked for the Duchy of Cornwall when you were Prince of Wales, who will confirm that you tend to surround yourself with sycophants. Do you ever make a speech or have a view which is challenged by your entourage? Does anybody say, excuse me, sir, you're wrong on that, or the speech you just made isn't borne up if you look at the numbers, or anything of that ilk? It is natural, is it not? Of course it is natural for a monarch to surround himself with sycophants, or yes men if you prefer, and it of course has been down the ages. But I wonder whether in a modern monarchy that's a good thing.
Well, I have to tell you, I like the yes man system. Yeah, I prefer sycophants around me, you see. No longer am I allowed to hang to all cauldron everybody at all. I'm not allowed to burn people at the stake. I can't even put people up in the Tower of London, as I'd like to do, people who disagree with me. But believe me, if I had my way, Bloomie would be the first to go there. So, long and short it is, I'll stick with the yes man van if you don't mind.
Well, so I'm sure you will understand that as a leading player in the World Economic Forum, and it is certainly not sure whether anybody knows whether you are the actual leader or you are number two to Klaus Schwab. Of course, he's been honoured by the palace with an honorary knighthood and so on and so forth, and you have shared platforms with him for many times. Would it not be in the interest of the monarchy to explain to the British people just what your relationship is with Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, and whether perhaps it is wise for you to be on this particular platform, which is shared, of course, by people with some rather suspicious political views? What is your relationship? Perhaps you could explain what your relationship is with Klaus Schwab. And do you deem the World Economic Forum to be a more important forum than your parliament?
Well, basically, the question you're asking there is basically Parliament or Davos. And this is a bit of a no-brainer. It is they're like Parliament, but they really get Parliament full of funny little people. Some of them, even from the north of England. I'd really understand them. Funny little people. There's a big choice at Davos. Davos is the place where things happen. Yes, no, I'm a Davos man. I'm quite relaxed about Parliament. I come and open it a couple of times a year. Quite happy to do that. And then they broke the door. No, it's Davos reals. I'm Davos.
It's no secret, Your Majesty, that you are an advocate of the concept of net zero, which, of course, is beginning to deindustrialize this country and, of course, is extremely expensive and very political, which, under our Constitution, is outside your remit. Now, I'd just like to ask you, and please don't take offence at any of this, your mother said, I suspect under your influence at quite a couple of years ago, she said, did she not, we're going to have to change the way we do things. Now, I got the very great impression that she didn't mean her, she didn't mean the monarchy, and she didn't mean the royal family. She meant us. She meant your subjects. Now, being such a great advocate of the hypothesis that man-made global warming is going to destroy the planet, and therefore net zero is a good thing, and you were seen sharing a platform with Sadiq Khan the other day, were you not, with this great big clock telling us that the planet only has a certain amount of time to live. Now, the question is, we see no sign of you leading by example. You have Sandringham, you have Highgrove, you have Windsor Castle, you have Buckingham Palace. You have Balmoral. You fly everywhere on the King's flight. So basically, it's taxpayer-funded private jets. You move around the country, and you were watching your racehorse the other day, in huge motorcades. And it went past not far our village. Now, the point is, Your Majesty, we are being asked, your subjects are being asked to give up travel, stop using their cars, live in 15-minute cities or ghettos or prisons or gulags, call them what you like. But it doesn't appear, does it, sir, to apply to you? So could you outline now, perhaps today with me, what you personally intend to do to set an example? What are you going to do? And there's talk about cutting back on farming and food, and we're all going to have to eat insects. You had been a leading advocate of organic food, and high growth in particular, and you only eat organic food. This is what you do, and so be it. That's your thing, fair enough. Are you going to eat insects? Or is it just for us to eat insects? This is really what we'd like to know. What is it, sir, that you are going to do to set us an example for net zero?
Well, you might. I'm here to think or understand the role of a king. I'm not here to set an example. I'm here to tell you what to do. You see, that's the whole benefit of being king, is I get to do what I like all the time, and you get to do as yourself. And that's really how it works. And that's how it's worked really for quite some time, until, of course, Charles I got his head chopped off and went a little bit too far. But broadly speaking, these days is I cool shots. I'm the bigwig, I've got a crown, and I've got lots and lots of houses, Rolls Royces and all the rest of it. So now you be good to tap and do as you don't. There's good for it.
Now, it may or may not be true, but it certainly appears to us, your subjects, that you seem significantly more comfortable with the world's celebrities and oligarchs. As I've already mentioned, Klaus Schwab, you seem to be very comfortable with the likes of George Soros, Jeff Bezos, the Rothschilds in particular. You appear with radical politicians like Sadiq Khan, so on and so forth, and activists, global activists, green activists who aren't scientists but carry the radical message. One might ask, if I may, sir, do you think it is wise for you to associate yourself so closely with these kind of people and not with your subjects, not with ordinary people, ordinary working people, who are, of course, like me, mainly monarchists? It's a monarchy, and we saw your coronation, everybody waving their flags and so on and so forth, and we saw the grief when your mother died. But the point is, where is your heart? With whom do you associate emotionally and intellectually? Because it doesn't seem to be the people, perhaps, with whom you should.
What you've got to understand is I'm extremely rich, wealthy, and I'm a king, and generally, yeah, I'm all around big shot. I'm all around big shot. So, of course, like other all-round big shots, I like to mix with big shots. So I like mixing with people who are jolly rich and jolly powerful. And that's a lot more fun. Now, I'm quite sure that chaps in my realm, I'm sure brickies and sparkies and chippies and cab drivers are all jolly good in their own way. They're all jolly good in their own way. But yeah, I don't even spend the weekend with them, do I? Well, nothing ain't come on them at all, yeah. So, no, I'm sorry to say that I'm not sure that, hang out, as the world expression is, with the top people like myself.
Your realm is invaded daily by thousands and thousands of illegal aliens. They land at Dover, they land at airports. They are all young men of military age. We are all, your subjects, are deeply concerned about this. And you've only ever made one comment on the whole thing. And that's when the government decided that they could repatriate these people or put these people somewhere else where they may start a new life, which, under your words, was an appalling idea. What is it, one might ask you, sir, what is it that you feel about your realm being invaded by people from different cultures, from different parts of the world, on the scale in which they are now being brought also by government boats and brought also by your own sponsored boats from the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, which is a royal institution, bringing them every single day. And they are of military age. What are they for? Is this something to do with your view of the World Economic Forum, sir? Is this what you want? Do you see them as some form of Praetorian Guard for your views? You did say last year, you made no secret of the fact you felt there should be some kind of military-style campaign to enforce net zero. Your words, sir. They're your words. Do these young men coming here in their thousands of ages between 18 and 30, are they going to play a part in this? We are already very frightened now. We're very concerned for our country, which is being changed. Can you explain what's going on? What is your view? It's your realm, sir. It's your realm.
Well, I can see these chaps coming in as being my Praetorian Guard, but well, I do really see them as perhaps as being a sort of replacing the King's African Rifles. First class organisation of chaps, and King's African Rifles, and it's quite obvious sooner or later you're going to get completely brined off. You're going to get fed up. I then the actual land brigade of guards, who now so small as only a few thousand of them, to protect me, or the household division, so I'm going to need at least 100,000 chaps under arms. And these chaps, as you can see when they're coming in the boats, they're jolly fit, and jolly on the ball, and they don't mind taking a little bit of a risk here and there. And so sooner or later I'll get the right kit for them, the right uniforms, and get them armed and sorted out, and then, dimly speaking, I can continue forever doing whatever I like, in whatever way I like. There's nothing anybody could do about this, is it?
Now, I had the pleasure of meeting your father on a number of occasions, and of course he is on record as being a Malthusian. He believes that the world is drastically overpopulated, and he made no secret of his view of that. Now, where we have, I think, do we not, a problem at the moment in this country, we have very significant excess deaths. This is a political ambition, is it not, of your World Economic Forum to reduce the population of the planet. If thousands upon thousands of your subjects are dying every year with no particular explanation, which actuarially show that there is a serious problem, and yet you make no mention of it, do you not believe that this must be part of your role? Your subjects are dying and we don't know why. Should you not be raising this? Perhaps publicly, because it's within your role, surely, as a constitutional monarch, to raise this with the press. You raise other subjects with the press. You have press conferences. You're not short in putting forward your views. Why don't you put them on this basis?
Well, of course, you're absolutely right. I'm a Malthusian. My father was a Malthusian. We just think there are far too many people on the planet. Far too many of the planet. And of course, you said earlier, Coronation, didn't mean me or my family. There aren't too many of us. Harry, Anning probably could get rid of. I don't mind sacrificing Harry's a bit of a pain in the arse. But no, what we should have is just me and my friends and fellow oligarchs and just enough chaps to clean my lavatories and fly me about and drive me about and clean my gum and boil my eggs in the morning and that kind of thing, really. There's far too many of us. Well, what should I say now? There's not too many of us. But there's a bit of you, isn't there?
I think it's generally accepted now, Your Majesty, that this country is no longer a Christian country. I don't think anybody would suggest it is. I personally think that's a great shame, because Christianity gives a focus, it gives a lifestyle focus, it gives a moral compass to a country, which has now lost that. And of course, one of your roles as monarch is defender of the faith. And you're also on record when you were Prince of Wales as saying that you wanted to be known as defender of faiths. Not the Christian faith, any faith, it seems. That's an interesting point. So the churches are empty, the Anglican churches are empty, of which you are head. There has been a series of archbishops of Canterbury where there is actually a question mark of whether they're Christians or believers at all. This is a problem, which is why the churches are empty and we're no longer a Christian country. I would ask you, sir, do you not think that you should be taking your role as head of the Anglican Church a bit more seriously? And it is a very prime role for you to play in the interests of this country. We're all very concerned about this. It doesn't mean to say everybody needs to go to church or be God botherers or Bible bashers, but we are a Christian nation and we don't see anything from you to lead us to believe that you think that that's a good thing or bad thing, but it is part of your role. It's part of your constitutional role. Would you like to expand on your view?
Well, you see, I don't think you're really getting this king business, the king thingy and on bishops, kings and bishops and stuff like that. It's a very, very complicated situation, you see. Don't think Henry II, for example, and Thomas of Academy that had bishop and archbishop who deeply believed in God, and that was an absolute nightmare for the poor fellow. And then you got a fast forward to Henry VIII. Well, I mean, his bishops gave him out and shoot to hell. And of course, already with Henry, he could chop their heads off from burn them, he could do whatever he'd like with them. But Satirical, I can't do that, you see. I can't do any of that. So the last thing I want is bishops believing in God. I mean, it absolutely blows your eye back. They give me a nice, easy-going bishop who goes along with my wonky theories and stuff like that, but doesn't bring God into it. Absolute disaster. Got to keep God bothers out of the chair.
And finally, Your Majesty, I'd like to talk to you about your coronation oath. Now, for those people who don't understand the British Constitution, perhaps I would just point out that your role is that you give assent to laws which are brought forward by Parliament. The amending chamber is the House of Lords, and they have to be given royal assent. That is your view. But your coronation oath clashes, it seems to us, with much of that. Now, going through the House of Parliament at the moment is our subservience of our Parliament to the World Health Organization, which, of course, is part of the World Economic Forum, which, if you permit the crudity, is your baby. So we have these organizations. We have the United Nations, we have the World Economic Forum, we have the Institute of the IMF, we have various institutions. And they seem to now be running our laws. And the latest one that you're going to sign off is the World Health Organization, which means that they are going to take control of all the responses to health in this country outside Parliament. That is a very, very clear breach of your coronation oath. My final question, sir, is, did you take your coronation oath seriously? Did you believe it? Do you believe it? What is your view? Because if you take it seriously, you simply cannot give royal assent to Parliament handing over responsibility of the nation's health to the World Health Organization. You simply can't do that without breach of your coronation oath. Would you like to give us a view? Or was it just pure theatre?
Well, my coronation oath, of course, is pure theatre. I think I'll be going to die if you think I was going to take it seriously. My mother didn't take it very seriously, which is how we managed to join the European Union. I came breach of the coronation. Do I take my coronation seriously? Well, no, of course I don't really. It's all good theatre, and it's very good for the tourist trade, and everybody waves their lovely fags, and don't take it seriously. I really don't think so, no. Oh, bless you.